And now, after that
cold open,
that not aggressive but passionate open, rather maybe than a cold open.
That's a good distinction.
Welcome to our pre-draft, post-draft, mid-draft show, and more importantly, the first show of the Unholy Trinity, a podcast hosted by myself, Philip Genius, and my buddy, Chris Carino Jr. Chris?
The Unholy Trinity, yeah. I mean, this is something, I think we had this idea broadly for a long time, but I think we've specifically found ourselves in a place now where we think Jet Met and Net coverage could use our addition and sort of use whether it's our takes or just our general knowledge that we've gathered. Obviously mine more net centric. You kind of fall under all the branches. Yeah. I'm also not going to fake it. Like, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm a current Super Bowl champion.
You played really hard in the fourth quarter when they needed to bump it.
I mean, that was, if you thought Nwosu caught that ball and ran for the pick six, that was me wearing an Nwosu jersey in pads. It was hard to see with the helmet. And the Yankees, these are not things I'm going to shy away from, but I think when you're a Net fan, especially one as big as me, and in your case, you're an Unholy Trinity fan. You fall under the Unholy Trinity bucket.
I like to think the things that I've gone through have inspired you.
Right,
as a human being.
And that was the point I was hitting on is my Net love makes me sympathetic, and in a way, almost a fan of the Nets and the Mets and the Jets. I feel your pain. I don't know how you do it in all three.
It is really hard.
It's impossible to do it in one really for me. Difficult. You do it times three.
Yeah.
I
think right now what you see is kind of the journey.
Yeah.
What you would admire is really the journey. And like you said, right now it just seems like a good a time as ever to really, buy in all these teams.
Stock is low.
Yeah, stock's low right now.
In a good way, though. That's not self-deprecating.
It's got to crash so you can buy. It's a good
It only can go up if it's at zero kind of thing. Yeah.
I think going into this baseball season, I was really like, wow, the Nets and Jets are really in the pooper. But, I have the Mets to look forward to. They really got to hold it down, and now...
they might be the one in the pooper.
We are back in the pooper.
Yeah.
And, it's going to give us a lot of content to talk about, a lot of things that we can build on. I like to tell Chris that we're going to try to stay positive. We're not going to try to really, shit on anybody or give anybody problems.
Correct.
I'm not here to make enemies. I'm just kind of here to tell you how I feel as a fan. Like me and Chris said, we're not in the locker room. We're not
Correct.
there. We're not reporters.
Yeah.
We are not with the team. We can't tell you what's going on, but we can tell you how we feel.
Yeah, and I think the thesis statement I've been using when I describe to people what we want to do is that fundamentally, historically, in reality, it's sometimes not fun, or it's stereotyped as not fun to be a Net fan, a Met fan, or a Jet fan. We want to show the fun side, or what it's like to have fun in being a Met fan and being a Net fan and being a Jet fan. That is knowing all the information. It's not being, I don't think there's any bliss in ignorance when it comes to these teams. But I do also think that it's a fundamentally more fun experience than maybe it's typecasted as from maybe nationally or even locally. A lot of Knicks Giants and Yankee fans have a lot to say all the time.
Yeah, well, it feels like they say a lot.
And there's a spectrum. I feel like I almost just said the spectrum. I feel like that. Well, the ones who are champions right now say the most, but always historically. But
it seems like
not just because they're winning.
But maybe they were saying a lot when they were
bad. And I think Yankee fans probably say the second. Well, it's tough because there hasn't been recent giant success. They were more of a consistent power in the NFC. I could see them maybe being on par with Yankee fans. A lot of the
Jet fans I've talked to beef with Giant fans.
And let's do this before we get into Net, official Net talk to take, get down to brass tacks. We have said the Jets are the one that could leapfrog, that could leave the Unholy Trinity hypothetically.
Wait. What do you mean?
Like they could become they have the smallest chance of being the little brother forever.
Yes, but right now,
the Jets win 2 Super Bowls back to back, we'd have to start having conversations.
Taking over. It's gonna happen.
That would never happen with baseball and basketball, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nothing uniquely wrong with either organization.
Why is it in Nicktown? history.
I don't know. I don't like
says.
that. That should be the only time that's ever said on the show.
Yeah.
That term. I don't like that.
We'll
it's a
try
net.
to stay
It's a
away.
net city.
We'll try to stay away from
It's a
that.
net city.
But in our hearts.
No, in reality.
In our mind?
In reality, yes.
Whatever.
No.
Okay,
And I also
Yeah.
and that transitions us nicely.
Mm-hmm.
The Nets need to have self-awareness, especially at this point, the stage in their organization's history. The Nets need to have an identity, pick an identity, and stick to it. I think the Nets have had sort of a vague, broad identity for a long time, whether that's a more European style, whatever that may be. The Nets have to have an identity. What would you say the Met identity is? Because it's very distinct. It is firmly distinct from the Yankee identity. Just talk about what's the difference between the Yankee and Met identity?
I think what the Mets grew up in was kind of being lovable and being
in their losing or
yes,
in general?
Lovable losers. They started as lovable losers and then they exploded when they won their championship. The thing that the Nets really haven't been able to really get down. They've been able to get down pretty much everything else.
The losing part, you're saying?
They haven't been able to get to that championship, which is what really kind of holds them back, I think. But with the Mets identity, I think, they're crazy, A lot of crazy stuff happens.
Or they're the real baseball fans in the city.
A lot of crazy stuff happens for the blue and orange. And, we see it. We saw it in 86 and the 80s, looking back at the history books. Obviously, we weren't around then. But, listening to history from our family members, from our older friends, we know what it was like when they were winning. And even a few years ago, we saw what it was like when they were winning and how bad that fan base really wants it and how they're built around kind of gimmicks and fun things, and I don't think that's something to really shy away from. I think that's something that they really got to lean into, and they're a serious club, and they take themselves seriously, but they have a crazy side to it.
And I don't know unless you live here, unless you're locally in the New York, New Jersey area, I don't think you really can know nationally how popular the Jets and the Mets are, specifically because those two organizations known as this, tortured, tough experience when supporting them. And you ask everybody, I feel like most people are a Jet or a Met fan, let alone both.
I think Jets and Mets are the biggest two that really connect.
And the point of me asking you that, talking in terms of identity, is not that the Nets need to adopt that. That would be a mistake to try to adopt another team's whole identity in the city. But the Nets need to adapt an identity and stick to it. To your point, the Nets, in a similar spot, could be thought of as a lovable loser, even in the city that they're in, the organization that they have. They have a likable brand of guys, whether that's in the front office or in the coaching staff. Everyone's relatively likable, but to your point, it's the winning. We've had this conversation about the Islanders, about the Mets. There is short stints of, and in the Islanders' case, it was a relatively long stint
they had a dynasty
of success that just creates fan bases and cements fan bases. The Nets are looking for that.
If you're a kid that sees a team win 3-4 times in a row, why wouldn't you want to move that?
Correct. And even in the jersey you're wearing right now, a jersey worn in the 2003 finals, 2002 and 2003, those are years that were pivotal for the Net organization, obviously for success on the court, but also for popularity off the court. I'm sure a lot of New Jersey natives and people in the surrounding areas maybe weren't big Net fans before then, became big Net fans after seeing a player like Jason Kidd play at those high levels on that big stage, the NBA Finals. That should be fundamentally what the Nets are shooting for. It shouldn't be so abstract.
And
it shouldn't be,
operate within yourselves.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be abstract. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't be trying to do a million different things. You should be trying to win.
Look at this.
Everything will follow.
Let's look at this thing that we have, and let's grow this thing that we have. Let's build our plant. Let's water.
And for what it is.
And
for what it is. Like, not to do it in a manufactured or disingenuous way, but the Nets have a unique identity and personality to their team right now. You would have to be blind not to see that. To perpetuate that.
They always have.
Yeah, to embrace that and to perpetuate that, especially at this point in your franchise's history, that is just, I keep saying it, that is pivotal. It really is.
And I think with that, we can get into some free agency.
And now the Nets find themselves acquiring Julius Randle last night. Nicholas Claxton leaving town, the Nets sliding up in the first round. We touched on it, and especially the poetic side of the Randle move. But just aside from that, this guy wasn't Julius Randle, the former Knick. Just looking at him for the player he is, he matches exactly what the Nets are trying to do. And what they're trying to do, Phil, is get more physical, get tougher, get bigger. Randle's all those things. He is a massive lad who is tough, who has some has some crap about him, for lack of a better term. That will help this net team a lot. A veteran presence that will help out the younger guys a lot, in a similar kin to what you were saying before. And as I said before, a lot of his negatives become positives on this net roster. That assertiveness to take the shot, to go into isolation play, to maybe disregard the guys around you in times when it's necessary. Those are all things that Julius Randle brings to this net team. And now, Phil, looking at the starting five, we talked about it. Michael Porter Jr. might be on the way out. Let's talk about him as if he stays here, as if Michael Porter Jr. is here. It's a Yegor Joman. Let's leave a spot open at the point guard. Let's leave a little spot open at the point guard. Then you go.
For now, we'll say Nolan.
We'll say Nolan Traore for now. Yegor Joman at the 2. And then who's playing the 3 for this team? Michael Porter Jr. along with Julius Randle and Day'Ron Sharpe. That's a legit starting 5. Not to say they're anything more than a play-in team, but they might be a play-in team for a team that was the top 3 lottery odds a few months ago. That is a big jump and a massive improvement for the Brooklyn Nets.
The thing about this move that's big for them is really about the new Adam Silver lottery reform.
Correct.
It is beneficial now for a team to try to get better, as in an offseason, especially if a team is bad, like the Nets, that didn't really have the pieces they needed to be competitive in the NBA. Now they're bringing in guys that have been in the playoffs the last 3, 4, 5 years. Michael Porter Jr. before, obviously last season, had been to the playoffs every year with Jokic. Julius Randle bouncing around, being successful with the Knicks, even in his first few seasons, right? Without Jalen Brunson. Then he got Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle together. They made the playoffs. Then he went to Minnesota and he was playing with one of the best young guards in the league. So, we're bringing in guys that have playoff experience, and I think that'll be good. Like you said, Randle's 6'9", 250, right? That's LeBron size.
Right.
Obviously, he's not LeBron, okay?
He's saying he's LeBron.
But
he's saying he's LeBron.
It's a guy that's, like you said, is going to be strong and play physical. And that's what these kids need to see, these young guys.
And there's a little, there's the Knicks, there's a little bit of that, we can go get the Knicks guy.
You like New York, right?
And I think it does get in the crawl space of Knicks fans in a way that the Nets enjoy, and they should enjoy.
It's those types of things that really kind of make it a little bit worth it.
Yes.
And why wouldn't you bring in a guy that's been successful, that had his most successful years in the biggest city in the world?
And that was what I said the other day. During the parade, the Nets sort of just shined Trae Young in the middle of the parade. So every Knicks fan had to check their phone, get that notification. But with that said, the Nets organization in general, and I think a lot of it falls on Sean Marks, get a lot of slack, and they just get a lot of jeers from people around the NBA for being poorly run. If they're a poorly run organization, what are the Wizards for giving Trae Young over $100 million?
I like the Wizard move. I mean, we'll agree to disagree on that, but
you like that move. That is so much money, Phil.
Phil,
if you sign a guy that good, and Brian Windhorst is immediately saying it's the worst contract in the NBA, that's probably not ideal.
Yeah, I guess that's not ideal.
So, again,
look what they have. They got the number 1 pick. They'll probably take AJ.
They're lucky they got the number 1 pick.
Lucky. They got a lot of good guards down there. They got the other Champagny brother who's shown promise in his time in the NBA. They got AD for as long as they have him. But
not even to give them slack. My bigger point was, the Nets shouldn't receive all the negativity they do. People are moving like that.
There have been unsuccessful teams. Let's not act like the Nets didn't know they were going to get in this position. They knew it was going to happen.
And looking at the position they're in, it seems like all the puzzle pieces are slowly going into place. I just said that starting 5. Yeah. We left the point guard position open. We're about to go to that for a second. But the depth of this net roster, especially at the wing position, you have Drake Powell, Josh Minot, Zaire Williams. Those are 3 guys who can guard high-level wings in the league. When you look at this roster in totality, it might be too many guys.
I was looking back.
Might be too many.
I was looking back at their schedule, and this was a team that was 7-3 in December.
Yeah.
Right. They had a good month.
Yeah.
A really good month.
Yeah, which doesn't happen really for tanking teams.
Best defensive ratings in the NBA. They were beating good teams like the Warriors. They lost to the Warriors, but they were playing strong against good teams. They'd fall apart at the end, but that's where that inexperience comes in. We saw that in the finals, obviously, at the biggest stage. This kind of stuff that happens in the regular season. You see a young team kind of get picked apart by an older squad later in the game, and that's how they lose 50 to 60% of their games, But when you really look at those first few quarters, you saw guys that had potential to grow into elite role players in the NBA.
And this net team was really tanking in the second half of the year. When a guy would show promise, it felt like there would be less playing time for him. It just felt like the Nets motivations were in the right place.
Yeah.
You don't want to hamstring yourself. You don't want to sell yourself short when possibly looking at a prospect like AJ DeBansta, Darren Peterson, the guys at the top of this draft. You have to try, and they did.
What do you think with the roster that they assembled now? Let's say Michael Porter Jr. stays. We got two killers in Michael Porter Jr. and Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you think that this draft class of guards that we're at 6, who do you think really fits in this squad right now? In that open point guard position.
Right, so you say fits. It seems like the missing puzzle piece of what they're trying to make a respectable starting 5. I think it's 3 guys. It falls on 3 guys. Obviously, the 4 of Wilson, DeBansta, Peterson, and Boozer, that's been as solidified as a top 4 in the draft has been maybe in my lifetime. Those guys are known to be the top 4.
That was a good time in April when we were thinking.
Possibly one of those 4 guys
black and white, right?
would be available. But you then think outside of that top 4, it's really 3 guards that seem to take up a lot of the conversation. It's Keaton Wagler, it's Darius Acuff, and of course it's Mikel Brown Jr. Darius Acuff, an IMG Academy prospect, goes to Arkansas, is SEC Player of the Year, and just sets the world on fire.
Explodes in March. He
was fantastic. I don't think a guy had his value go up from the beginning of the March Madness tournament in comparison to the end as Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler went from maybe he's a top 10 pick a few months ago, and now he's probably a top 5 pick in the draft. The Clippers seem to be the heaviest suitor to Keaton Wagler and the last guy. Mikel Brown Jr., a guy called by many the best point guard in this class, goes to Louisville last year for a one-and-done season that he was hoping to have success in. He did not. A lot of that was messy, whether it was the relationship with the head coach, the relationship with the program, ends up not playing in March Madness. Some say that was voluntary. There's a lot of murky things with Mikel Brown off the floor. On the floor, he is a dynamic athlete. And similar to Darren Peterson, if you're just looking at his play and his film, his value is different than when you get the full picture.
And I think a lot of players buy into the system that they have in Brooklyn. A guy like Mikel Jr.
Mikel
Brown Jr. I think he's a guy that would really fit in this Jordy system, that run and gun system, that heavy defense system. I mean, I'm looking at his build right now, 6'4", 188 with a 6'7" wingspan. He can defend. He can guard at the perimeter, which is something that they love in Brooklyn. And, he shoots a lot of threes, 7.6 threes per game. Shot attempted, shooting 34% from the field in Louisville. I think that's something that will really translate to that kind of run and gun offense that Jordy Fernandez likes to run in Brooklyn. And, his injury problems, in the NBA, who knows if that'll be as big of an issue. We're going from like multi-million-dollar college basketball franchises to, now we're talking billion-dollar franchises where they look at every little nook and cranny. So I think that's something that'll really fit Mikel Brown. And as for Acuff, there's a lot of smoke behind Acuff right now, whether it's with Sacramento or with Los Angeles. What do you think about that?
Sacramento. So it seems that these guys we're talking about have almost been slotted into certain places in the draft, whether that's interest tweets, reporters reporting an interest, or workouts being canceled, workouts being scheduled, meetings being taken. It seems there's a ton of interest for Keaton Wagler at that 5 spot for the Clippers. It seems
he canceled his workout with Brooklyn, right?
With Brooklyn, and he didn't have a workout with the Kings. From the beginning of this draft process, the lanky, tall guard that's really skilled without maybe having that athletic prowess, that always seems to be the Clippers guy. Whether it's Lawrence Frank or whoever's in that front office, that's the kind of guy they like. It seemed obvious that was where they would go. And on the flip side of that, Darius Acuff, the 2 picks sandwiching the Nets right now, 5 and 7. Sacramento Kings say, we love Darius Acuff. I don't know if it's a psyop. I don't know what it is. Darius Acuff has been linked to the Kings maybe 300 times the last week in multiple reports. It seems that that's where he's going to go. And to me, I've said this multiple times. First of all, I think it's an indictment on you if the Kings want you. If the Sacramento Kings are head over heels for you, that's not necessarily an endorsement, first of all, Phil. Second of all, if then the 2 teams in position or having an opportunity to take you, then metaphorically part the runway for that team saying they want you, and are then going to seemingly let you have that player. Nets and Clippers going to let the Kings have Acuff. All of that seems to me to do the hold on. All of that seems to me to be the opposite of an endorsement.
You know what I think about? I think about Kevin Costner, one of my favorite actors, in Draft Day. Why is everyone passing on Callahan? Why is everyone passing on Bo?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, how bad do the Kings want? Bad enough to trade up, or bad enough to let him fall to you? If two teams are like, all right, you want him so bad, you can take him. We've seen that comparison between him and Cam Thomas.
It's a fundamentally flawed. Comparison to me.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, guys that kind of have that demeanor, that attitude. But he's a killer.
And I don't think he has that attitude. I think he does probably pay less attention, takes less pride on the defensive end as compared to the offensive end. But there's levels to this stuff, man. Like, he is just a game changer.
He's serious. He's serious about his craft. He's serious about his work.
But I also have questions on the defensive end. I do. I also don't think it's an indictment. If you have a problem, if that's what's holding you back from taking him, I think it's fundamentally ignorant to me. I don't think it's that important. I think you could surround him with defenders. I don't think that should be the end-all, be-all of you taking Darius Acuff. But there's just something about how this has gone and how Sacramento is now sort of almost like reserved the rights to Darius Acuff. It's all fishy to me. If the Nets really saw Darius Acuff for what Twitter sees him as this game-changing Jason Kidd level threat that they can put on their team and he can change everything, I think the Nets would not only take him, you would know right now the Nets are going to take him. It would be reported the Nets are taking him at 6, but Phil, that's not what's happening.
If he was as big of a superstar as they're making him out to be, it would be consensus 5.
And I feel like it's easy. I feel like it would be easier. It might even be logical or likely that we sound dumb saying this. Maybe Darius Acuff is this all-star, perennial all-star every year, and the Nets just pass on him. But and this is why we do it. We want to record how we feel or portray how we feel. I'm just feeling weird about it. And Mikel Brown Jr. seems to be the slam dunk. Wagler is the guy I want. Wagler is the guy I want, and he's gonna go at 5. He won't be there.
What do you like about
for the Nets to take?
Wagler?
He is so skilled. When you talk fundamentally, this guy is so past the level of fundamentals. He has everything down, whether it's a flashy move, a fundamental move. This guy is so in control of his game, plays at his own pace. And I didn't realize how skilled he was. I always said, and I said this on our Twitter account earlier this week, people see him as the boring of the 3, the boring option of the 3. When you watch him play, man, he is dynamic. He's a game changer. Similar to Mikel Brown, plays with his head up, so as a point guard that isn't going to bypass other options, easier options to score. He will just take them. He's assertive. Wagler is extremely impressive. His physical capabilities, how big he is as well, it all leads me to think he is going to be prototypical guy at in the next generation of NBA players.
He's also played in some of the biggest games.
Yeah.
Right? He came in and he played, 4 tournament games?
Yeah.
He played all the way to the Final Four. He didn't shoot great in the last game against they played UConn, right? So, it is what it is. But, he's a guy that stepped up to the moment when they needed him most. And he's had some crazy games for Illinois this season.
Yeah.
But, I think him going at 5 is going to be, it'll be a question. You see if this Darius Acuff smoke really makes the Clippers want him more, or if they know they've known what they've wanted since that ball fell out of the top 3.
It would be impossible for me to think that the Kings are just smarter than everyone right now.
Yeah,
that fundamentally just seems unbelievable to me.
They could also know that Mikel and
Mikel, don't make that. That's a fundamental mistake not to make.
Mikel and Wagler are better. Right,
I would agree.
They know that's what they're going at 5-6, but the way they kind of feel territorial about it is a little weird, as we're kind of seeing the reports come out.
And Mikel has questions, especially on the offensive end. He's been prone to turn the ball over, show some of that inexperience, as you've said. But the intangibles. First of all, he has a lot of the things we said about Wagler. He's fundamentally sound. He's dynamic and flashy when he has to be, but he's fundamentally different in the fact that Wagler's semi-athletic. Mikel Brown is athletic on another level. He is truly athletic, whether that's laterally, vertically. This guy, Mikel Brown, is the whole package athletically, and then so skilled. Seriously has a Donovan Mitchell tight bag. It's easy to make that comparison when he went to Louisville. But he is so balanced, and he is similar to Donovan Mitchell, has such broad shoulders that it just really feels that he's like a tree trunk. You can't knock him down. down.
Feels right. I think
And he also, last thing, Phil, he can shoot the ball not only well and at an efficient clip. He wasn't even super efficient last year, but he shoots the ball from so far. His average length in each three he takes is dramatically farther than everyone else's. He has an NBA ready range, and that is an aspect, Phil, that I think goes underutilized, undervalued in this draft process.
I think what many people have said is that when you're in the draft, you've got to draft for potential. You can't draft wholly based on what you've seen. And I think that's kind of where you run into a problem with Acuff or with Wagler. Obviously, those two guys have potential out the wazoo, but, Mikel Brown Jr. seems like the guy with the most potential. And I think, especially for the Nets, like what we said with the whole, Nick, whatever, and they have to focus on their craft. They kind of have to just part the seas. They can't be reactionary. They can't let what other teams are saying affect their decision making. They have to be in the workshop, looking at the players, seeing what they like, and yeah, I think that'll be big.
And just to finish this segment, now putting the guy that we think, with a lot of confidence is going to be the Nets guy tonight, Mikel Brown Jr. Let's put him on the floor hypothetically with the current net roster. He'll slide in to that roster or to that starting five we talked about earlier. Yegor Joman, Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, and Day'Ron Sharpe. It almost sounds fake to say when you look at it in totality. It's so miscellaneous would probably be the right word. Mikel Brown does so much for that unit, whether it's the scoring, whether it's whether it's being able to have the ability to take the initiative by himself offensively. The isolation scoring is there. If you need him to go get you a bucket, he can get you a bucket. He said he's been saying that since he's around 5-6 years old. He's the guy that can go get you a bucket if you need one. But more than that, he's the connector. He can connect this offense, whether it's distributing the ball, whether it's scoring out of a system of players, whether that's through sets or plays. He seems to just be the right head of the snake, for lack of better term. The head of the snake is something so important, especially to an offense, a distributing guard. He could do it on his own. He could do it with camaraderie. Mikel Brown Jr., to me, seems like the guy. And when you think about it measured, when you think about it in a hypothetical, more positive, more maybe not grounded in reality sense, all of the realities I'm thinking about, Mikel seems to be the guy.
All right. I think, we'll see what happens at 6. We'll have you covered with that.
And talk briefly, Mikel, Yegor backcourt. What does that look like?
I mean, what we see with the prospects that they have on the board for them right now, it kind of gives Yegor an opportunity to step back out of kind of that facilitator role and more into that wing slasher knockdown shooter role that he really kind of came into last season. I see him in that game against Orlando coming down, having a bad first 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter just exactly taking off and becoming an elite 3-point shooter, pulling up from whatever and just banging it. You know what I'm saying? So I think a guy like Mikel Brown or even Wagler will be good for him to kind of just, catch a pass on the wing and just like do that little jump shot he got. You know what I'm saying? And rip off the ball and drive and dunk. You know what I'm saying? Like he's going to take that step back into becoming a true 2-3 guard for them. And I think that's why having so many guards available for the team right now is really a good spot for them to be in.
And we sound really complimentary of Mikel. We are, and we're pumped on him. If Wagler was available and we had the 5th pick, that's the guy I want. He is a dynamic player that the Clippers will be happy, really happy to have.
We'll see what happens.
And just so we have all the opportunities or the possibilities covered. They take Darius Acuff. You're falling off the couch, right?
I don't know. I mean, I can't say no to a Kentucky guard. I know he went to Arkansas, obviously. But,
you just get a Cal guard.
A Calipar guard. I won't be super upset. Obviously.
I'd be shocked. I wouldn't be upset. I'd be shocked.
I'd be disappointed, maybe, but I would still be like, all right, we got ourselves a guy that averaged 24 points. You know what I'm saying? In the biggest moments, and came in and hit big shots for Arkansas in March. You know what I'm saying? That's where you really can tell what a player is, because college basketball is not like the NBA in the regular season. Obviously, in the packed gyms with the packed college fans, but March is national. March, people know about March. You know what I'm saying? So he was big in March. I'll be a little disappointed that it wasn't Mikel or Wagler, but I mean, we'll see. I won't be devastated. I just quickly want to file my grievance with the NBA, Chris, because
sure.
The Utah Jazz, who have Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen on their roster, ended up with the 2nd overall pick in the draft. And the Washington Wizards with Trae Young and Anthony Davis on their roster, who they both of those guys they got mid-season last year, ended up with the 1st overall pick. And the lowly... Wait, who got the 3rd pick? Who's picking 3rd?
It's
Do.
Damn, you're messing me up. Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis is going 3rd. I'm an idiot. Memphis is drafting 3rd, and they have
no one.
No one. So I guess they kind of suck. But I think maybe I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist here. What do you think? If they're rigging this, they're doing a terrible job.
Okay, and last year the Nets did hamstring themselves slightly. It was like a Claxton winner in Philly. There was a few games they should have lost at the end of the year. They won, and they end up with the 8th pick, which was still terrible luck. But it's like,
fine, they had good players. They got rid of
the Nets. Dedicated themselves to the tank this year. They made sure they were one of the bottom 3 teams in lottery odds, putting themselves in the best place possible to gain not only the number 1 pick or just a high pick in general. And they end up with the 6th pick.
It was like, I remember watching that. It was Mother's Day, and I was with my dad.
It ruined Mother's Day.
Ruined Mother's Day. First of all, we just had a great dinner in the park. Great brunch, I guess, in the park. We came home. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm watching the draft lottery. And it was just like all this built up 6 months of just being bad.
Yes.
Just kind of exploded in my face.
Yes, because you're watching bad basketball for 6 months, and the only reason you're okay with it is because it will result. It will result in something.
This 10-minute, all this build up. They interviewed AJ's mom. It was like, all right, cool, sure, let's hear from them like that.
Right.
But damn, man. Damn, a team with Trae Young and Anthony Davis is going to get the 1st overall pick,
and
a team like Utah who was actively benching their good players, Jaren Jackson Jr. in games where they were playing, and then the Nets they had Michael Porter Jr., but they weren't very good with Michael Porter Jr. and Jaren Jackson Jr. are on 2 different levels.
And through the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce trade, other things, the Nets don't draft a lottery pick from Derek Favors to Yegor Joman. There is a gap in the middle.
What was it, 12 years, right? 13?
It might be longer,
It's
like 15.
They needed to give us a break there.
And they just didn't.
And it wasn't...
And...
They took five young players that were bad because they were inexperienced.
And the Nets had the worst record in the league the Derek Favors year. That's the John Wall year. They were trying to give the Nets John Wall, and then they ended up with Derek Favors, who was a good player.
He was good.
A lot better after he left the Nets. But also, got Darren Williams for him. So, but... Even before that, we have his jersey up there, Kenyon Martin. That was the last number 1 overall pick we took. And, not even to talk on Kenyon's playing level, it was a guy who was the National Player of the Year in college coming off a year-long injury. And it almost felt like out of all the times to get lucky, it was the most unlucky time to get lucky. The Nets simply can't help themselves.
The Jets, too. I mean, the one year that they had the number 1 overall pick, they take Keyshawn Johnson, and then Peyton
who was
Manning.
a good player.
He was a good player, but Peyton Manning goes next year. He stayed in college.
Kind of played a little hide and seek.
Didn't want to play for the Jets, whatever. But I mean, it just kind of felt like a real slap in the face. We were the only team that really did it right. We really tanked the right way, and we deserved to be the
and you feel like it was the right way.
Even the Pacers got slimed, and everyone was like, "Oh, the Pacers deserved it." The Pacers didn't deserve shit. They were in the finals, Game 7. Last year, Halliburton gets hurt. If they didn't get hurt, they're champions of the
And that's what makes it hurt more.
And they got Zubac. They took a risk with Zubac, and it was just
the moral tank side of this makes it harder because the Nets don't go out and get guys for the purpose of them not being at the level to win. They were going with G League guys. They were keeping it in house. The Nets were competing, and they weren't winning, but they were playing hard. All of those things come to a frustrating point of them getting the 6th pick.
Even OKC got a number 2 overall pick. And they got Chet, right?
They were bad.
They were a bad team. Yeah. A lot of people make comparisons between the Nets and OKC about how they're trying to keep it in-house and trying to grow from what they have. Their coach, was there with them when they were winning 20 games. And our coach is there. We just got an extension after winning 20 games. But, I mean, geez, man, the Spurs got to get Wemby.
That's the thing. I don't think the Nets will ever have that luck. The Nets can't even possibly have that luck. Castle, Wemby, Harper 3 years in a row. Really, 3 cornerstones, not all-stars, all NBA level players 3 years in a row.
They did everything wrong right, and still it didn't come up roses for them. And the Knicks won the finals, and then it was like.
And as we talked about in the open a little bit on what you can control, what you cannot. Mm-hmm. You can't be too bogged down by the uncontrollable. But when it's now in your hands, whenever that may be, like tonight, the 6th pick for the Nets, you have to take advantage. You can't get bogged down by the uncontrollable. That's in akin to the definition of insanity. But you have to hit when it's in your control.
And players, I mean, we talked about OKC. Shea was, the 14th overall pick? Donovan Mitchell was 14, something like that. Kobe was 13. Good players come later in the draft. You got to really be hunkered down. Nets are doing a good job, not leaking anything. We still don't know who they're going to pick. They're not firm on anybody. Last year, we didn't know who they were going to pick. Got a little blindsided by the Yegor decision. Let's be frank, you know what I'm saying?
I was pleasantly surprised.
Happy to have Yegor. I was excited about him when we got him. I didn't know who he was.
I was in the arena. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. Mm-hmm. Everyone was confused, but I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah,
the Nolan.
And he was a good guy. He was going top 12,
and I think the 10. Nolan pick Traore might be the most excited in real time I've ever been for a Nets draft pick.
He was playing pro.
I spent the year watching him. Mm-hmm. I became a fan, and the Nets never draft the guys that I fall in love with. Broadly over time from a longevity perspective that are then kind of in that draft process. The Nets never through coincidence take them. Nolan was the guy that I fell in love with, and the Nets end up taking him, Ben Surratt, Drake Powell, just question marks everywhere. And it's nice to know a guy like Randall, a guy like Michael Porter Jr., less and less question marks are on this roster as time goes along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So we are here now with our post-draft reaction. I know that was kind of a quick cut. We're around the 17th pick right now. OKC is about to put in another pick. Looks like they've got a trade going. But, Chris, what are your just initial thoughts? And we talked about him a lot before, but...
Do you want to talk about Mikel?
Mikel, let's talk about him.
So we're excited about it. I think that Net fans, as we talked about earlier, even in the vein of that long lottery drought, Net fans are just looking for a guy to believe in. I think Mikel was the inside the box pick, but I think where the Nets are right now, they could use that inside the box pick. I think miscellaneousness, outside the boxness, that's been sort of the names and the adjectives used to describe how the philosophy of net drafting recently. This one was by the book, and I think they made the right decision. Mm-hmm. There is we can talk about this, but there is a part of me that is a little afraid they'll regret passing on Acuff. I know that isn't the pick.
He's like the shiny toy.
Right. The mature, responsible adults are all saying, Mikel, but there is a part of me that
Phylon's still on the board.
They will regret it. Yeah, Phylon's still on the board. Cameron Carr is still out there as well. We're at the 17th
Carr's
pick.
Player.
Oklahoma City is about to go up there. Adam Silver going to make an announcement any second, really. Haven't had many surprises. Swain, the guard from Texas, drafted almost 8 or 9 spots higher than he was projected. That's, I would say, our biggest surprise so far. It's been pretty chalk.
It was pretty chalky coming up and starting it off.
First 7 to 8 picks are all chalk.
Yeah, it was pretty chalky. I'm pretty excited about the Mikel. Sorry,
Mikel. Don't do that.
We're not going to do that. I'm pretty excited about it. I think he's got a good frame. Obviously, he's got some steps to take offensively. But, I mean, I think in a system like Jordy's, like we talked about before, he's just going to be able to flourish. And I think he loves those guards up top, like Zaire Williams, like those guys that are really, strong on the perimeter and able to lock down guards that come down. You want to be a team that can limit a team to, 105, 106 points in a game.
Yeah, and you gotta be comfortable in the guard play now, Phil, especially where it is, whether that's Traore or Surratt or now Brown Jr., MBJ. I feel like obviously MBJ seems to be the star of that bunch. MBJ, not MPJ. Should we not do that?
Maybe we should wait a little bit.
Unless MPJ isn't on the roster.
We'll see what happens at the
We'll see. Anyway, I think it first fills a hole because I think point guard is probably the least confident position out of, that hypothetical projected starting 5, and it just brings a level of command. We talked about head of the snake a bunch earlier. This is the kind of kid I am comfortable, at least leading this franchise in some capacity. I don't think he is being brought in as the face of the franchise, best player on the championship team, but I don't think he necessarily has to be that to be ultra productive for this organization.
Not for sure. I mean, I'm looking at his stats right now. 3.5 rebounds a game, 4.7 assists per game, over a steal per game. The turnovers could come down a little bit, but he was up there scoring the ball pretty well, shooting over 40%, over 34% from 3.
34% from 3, and that's going to go up. He was shooting a lot farther on most of those shots. We talked about the average distance in his 3-point shots. That will inevitably go up. And I just think his mix of passing, his mix of being able to get everyone involved, have his head up, find the best play. I always say LeBron has a clock in his stomach that makes him make the right play always, even if it's against his will. I feel like Mikel has a little bit of that as well. And also, we said before, Phil, bucket getter. Like, can go get you a bucket, which I think, along with Julius Randle, is a need. And I think him and Julius fill that massively. Like, you think isolation scoring, I think him and Julius Randle out there, I mean, that's a major improvement.
We're looking at a roster that not only, it's not like an incremental increase in how much better they are.
No,
they're a lot better.
They're a lot better,
and they're young guys are going to step up in year 2. They're going to be sophomores, and they're going to be stronger and more confident. And I think that's going to be a good look for them.
Yeah, and even and along with that confidence instilling in these younger guys, they all kind of do separate things. If they all stay in their lane, have the self-awareness of what they do and what they do well and how they're effective, this net team could be good. Even a guy like Michael Porter Jr., who we just brought up, if he ends up sticking around, ends up being on this roster next year, it's a guy who mostly plays off the ball, has a lot of his value off the ball. So guys like Randall and Mikel can go and do their thing, along with someone like Yegor Joman, who is slowly drifting more and more off the ball and is seemingly kind of whatever the Nets want him to be, which I think Drake Powell fits under that. I think Danny Wolf fits under that. A lot of these guys are going to circumvent, form themselves to the system as opposed to sticking out and maybe making things more complicated for Jordy Fernandez and this staff.
I think hopefully what I'm hoping for most out of Mikel is that he is going to be able to just take whatever role is given to him. Even if that
be the starting point guard.
Even if that means going out and getting a veteran point guard to start over him, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that maybe they can flip at the deadline for depth or
Schroeder vibes.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody like that. Somebody they can bring in to kind of just show them the ropes a little bit.
D'Lo back?
They still have a lot of.
Bring him back?
Maybe, I don't know.
Bring the king home? He's a little bit of a what?
He's a wild card,
He's always been good to us.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's been a good player to us.
For a third stint would be crazy, but
say whatever you want. That's an all-star jersey behind us.
That's an all-star jersey.
Say what you want.
We've had some good moments.
Maybe he was a replacement. That's an all-star.
But I'm looking at a team that has a lot of cap space and a lot of room to maneuver, especially with depth pieces, especially since they want to kind of climb out of the ranks of being in the lottery, and trying to make this play-in drive. I mean, I'm looking forward to see what they do. I mean, what Sean Marks is going to be able to do with this money. He's always been good at kind of signing free agents. I like the Man signing last year. That was a big pickup for them. Obviously, the Cam Johnson trade, they brought in MPJ, who seems to have a liking to being in Brooklyn and kind of being away from the New York spotlight, being on that, Nets spotlight, which is still, existent, but it's a little different than playing over there in the Garden. So, I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see.
And Mikel's got that vibe about him.
Yeah.
He'll be good. We were talking about someone's good in the New York media. You're talking about Vientos?
No, it wasn't Vientos.
It was someone.
Somebody.
I think Mikel has that about him. It's all those academy kids, he specifically Overtime Elite, where they're almost playing professional basketball or something akin to professional basketball since they're like 15 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
young
kind
guys.
of the new NBA is like that. That's why there's so much, the talent pool has just gotten so much bigger. And I think the Nets are trying to, just pluck the right guys, pluck the right strings, and grab the right guys out of these pools.
And that's the key distinction we have to talk about, even with Cam Thomas. It's always the distinction of the NBA is not the best 300 players in the world. It's the best 300 guys at their role in the world. Like that is a key distinction. Cam Thomas falls on the negative half of that, where maybe he won't be on an NBA team next year, and he's 1,000% a top, even a top 100 player maybe in the NBA or in the world if you took away his lack of self-awareness and things like that. But a guy like Mikel Brown, I think, has the opposite effect. I think he's very self-aware. I think, along with ability, I think this kind of hits on the Darius Acuff thing a little bit. They're looking for mentality. They're looking for personality. They're looking for guys that not only are showing the weapons now, but are showing the capability to build more weapons, to equip themselves with more weapons in the future to their game. I get that from Yegor Joman as well. It's a lot in how he thinks, how he, gets better.
And I think, Louisville guys, we talked about Donovan Mitchell earlier, like, Donovan Mitchell, is a great player, and they seem to do a good job at making pros over there. I also
play similar too.
I like the coach they had over there.
I like him.
Obviously you talked about some challenges that they may have had,
challenges he had.
Yeah, Mikel had some trouble going out throughout the season, but I think when he gets accustomed to that net lifestyle, that net kind of $1 billion
that insane net
that
lifestyle.
Brooklyn life. They're gonna be rolling the streets.
The one thing is the back problems. He misses the tournament, doesn't play in the March Madness sector for his Louisville Cardinals, ends up having a back injury, keeps him on the sideline the whole year. Back problems is the one thing that makes me nervous. I mean, we had a lot to deal with when it came to Ben Simmons and his lack of, being able to do things that should be very easy for people to do. And I just hope that Mikel isn't hamstrung metaphorically with these back problems that can persist. That has to be something that, maybe stays with his college career, hopefully.
We'll see. I think the NBA training staffs will be able to kind of hold that better than they were in college. But, I mean, we'll see, bro. We'll see.
And now where we sit, we're right on the back half of the top 20. Charlotte just picked Christian Anderson from Texas Tech, a guy who I thought I saw projected a lot higher, slips a little bit. Really talented guy, seeing Steph Curry and Chris Paul comparisons on the screen. Now the Nets shift their attention to the late first round. I think we talked about it on the show prior. We're thinking big man here, the 5 position, just because they get rid of Claxton. A lot of centers available now at this point in the draft, including Chris Sinek Jr., Jr. from Houston. His teammate Kingston Flemings went earlier in the draft, number 8 to Atlanta, and also the other guy, the local guy, Zuby Ejiofor, both major options for the Nets. Where do you think broadly they should go here? Even if it's not a specific guy, what do you think the net perspective should be heading into this pick? They trade up for it, so there's definitely something on the brink.
I think they were maybe trying to get a trade out of it. I mean, we'll see. I'm a little less knowledgeable on the guys coming back in the back half of the first round.
Yes.
But I will say that, I mean, there are a lot of names on here that were strong players in college. Koa Pete, Isaiah Evans, guys that really kind of held their own in college.
And Koa Pete, top 10 prospect all year. It's crazy to see how far he's dropped.
He's dropped a little bit. Yeah, so, I mean, we're going to see what they choose to do here. Kareem Lopez is still on the board. I doubt he makes it all the way to 28, but, I mean, we'll see. The Mets seem to be giving it up.
I was about to say, things are not... The
City Field is really...
The Nets' unholy Trinity partner, the Mets. You want to give a little...
Looks like we just gave up another run in the 8th inning. I don't know who hit that double.
Carson Kelly. Good catcher.
Right on
Might be
line.
foul.
Nope. That's fairer than all fair. Yeah, so that kind of stinks, but it's all right.
You really care about the Mets.
Yeah, I care about them a lot. I really do. The Nets.
I like the away jerseys tonight. The script, the blue, the royal blue with the script. I like them, nice.
But then the first time they wore them was after the Game 4 comeback. The OG tip-in.
Not ideal.
They were like the tip-in jerseys, and now they like wearing them at home. They used to be on the road, so I mean, we'll see what happens.
Oh, they are wearing them at home. That's weird.
Yeah, that's a little weird. As for the Nets, I mean, shit. Kareem Lopez still on the board. Maybe they move up.
Wow, you're right. Kareem Lopez. It's better than the 19th pick in the draft, and he's going
about 6. I mean, the Nets are a wild card. They're going to take whoever the F they feel like.
And Nate Ament, his miscellaneous brother here, who he seems to have been paired with through this whole draft process, at least in conversation, went way early.
Yeah.
He went to Milwaukee. Seems to almost be, at least in theory, a Giannis replacement. See NBA cameraman Nate on the floor in his yellow polo yawning. He's had a long night. He's, he's in every shot. One of the Nets head photographers.
These guys are going to do. It's going to be interesting.
We're at 19 with Toronto. It's going to be a little while till the Nets will have videos up on the Twitter and everything. You'll see those before you see this. So I really don't know why I'm deliberating it necessarily, but go on.
We'll see what happens.
I
don't know.
No Met, no.
I have no notes for this.
No notes. Swanson home
run.
Dansby Swanson's hitting home runs.
Senga's having some trouble right now. I cannot lie.
Is his Met career in trouble?
I mean, I think about Alek Manoah.
Yeah.
A few years ago, he was a stud pitcher for the Blue Jays, and they had to send him down to Single A so they could figure him out. I'm a little disappointed in Toby Myers. When he came, he was like, "There's another one."
That's another run.
When Toby Myers got here, it was like kind of an exciting extra piece to that Freddie trade, and they've both kind of just meandered out a little bit. I mean, it's tough to pitch in New York.
It's depressing at Citi Field right now.
Yeah, it's really not looking up. They gotta make a shake up.
In Net World, it's looking up.
Net World's looking up, but the draft is like the best part of being a Net fan.
All right. Now that's over.
Yeah.
This should be the last draft. And that's a good segue into maybe concluding this, maybe putting a bow on this from a Net perspective. You're right. The drafts have been the most optimistic time for net fans yearly the last couple of years. Hopefully that's no more. Yeah. Hopefully this is the last.
We want to focus on the season. We don't want to focus on the off season.
And winning, being competitive.
We've won off seasons. We've been 3-time off season champions.
It's true. And going to being competitive, trying to win every day in and out. You know, people have what they have to say negatively about the NBA regular season. I think me and Phil are dying to really care day in and day out about the NBA regular season.
When the summer league happens, oh man,
and summer league is going to be cinema. But summer league was fun last year with the 5. That was a good time. But all those things considered, this should be the last draft. Net fans are watching intently. Bigger and brighter things ahead, competitive things ahead. We even talked about.
Who knows though with the new lottery? You know what I'm saying?
I have thought that because think
10th in the East.
I was about to say,
all of a sudden you got a good shot.
They don't make the play-in, or they just miss the play-in. It's a competitive year. They're now in that draft lottery process. They end up with a really good pick next year. Draft is considerably worse next year.
Yeah,
but I still think that would be an optimistic time.
Maybe and get some luck back in these
Phil,
with these lottery balls.
Maybe the Knicks aren't this good forever. Maybe in 2031 they aren't the greatest team of all time. They don't have the voodoo magic that OG Anunoby currently has.
Might be moving.
But with all that said, the Nets go into an optimistic time. That's starting 5. We look at Mikel Brown Jr. We look at Yegor Joman, the 6th and the 8th pick the last 2 years in the top 10, both lottery picks, high lottery picks. And then you go Michael Porter Jr. at the 3, a guy acquired last year for Cam Johnson and a first-round pick. I might add you another great Sean Marks move. How
many first-round picks do we have now? 14.
You go look up the list. Anyway, I'll go through the whole sort of rotation, and then you can add those picks. We'll give like the whole. Gotcha. Michael Porter Jr. plays the 3 at the 4. Along with just, a plethora of moves they've made recently, Julius Randle slides in, and he'll play with Day'Ron Sharpe. That is 2 very big dudes playing down there for the Nets defensively. The Nets will be helped out massively. And then,
free agency.
What are you about to say? Before the free agency? Let's go depth.
Okay.
We got Drake Powell, Josh Minott, and Zaire Williams. That's the wing trio of death when you think of bench coalitions around the league.
I think they're going to have to take a step up. Everybody's going to have to take
Minott will take a step up. Minott's the best.
We're big Minott.
We're basically pro Josh Minott podcast. Josh, if you see this, you're a dog. Will Romack from high school says hello. Anyway, I think that him I think Zaire is sort of in that pool I said before. Jalen Wilson's in this pool as well. You got to play well. You're playing for your next tenure, essentially.
That happens a lot, especially when drafts you get the new shiny guy comes in.
The 10th pick
new player.
5 years ago, Zaire Williams less and less shiny as years go on.
Braves just went off the board before. Damn, Lopez might be there.
Yeah, Lopez really dropping.
We'll see. But yeah, I mean, this kind of puts a fire underneath a lot of the guys to step up and really be, the players that we know they can be and that they know they can be, obviously, and so hopefully that shakes them up a little bit, and everyone's going to take a leap. We know that can definitely happen. We've seen the spurts of skill from all these guys.
And
that's that.
Read us that.
13 first-round picks over the next 5 years.
That can't be right.
You don't think so?
They have more than 2 first-round picks on average for the next 5 years.
That's what they're saying. Hold on.
Who is that?
Fanspo.
Eric Adams is all over this. What?
Round 2. 27, they have their own. 27, they have the Knicks. 28, they have Philly, protected 1 through 8. 28, they have their own. So that's including this year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. All right, 8 first-round picks till 2030.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's 2026, so that's a lot.
Yeah, we gotta make a swing, hit a home.
Things are looking up. A lot of the optimistic signs for the Nets were usually negatives in the past for the Nets, whether it's draft picks in the future or whether it's depth when it comes to young players, especially looking at the bench. These are all things that Net fans are always sort of anxious about. Now they're things, whether that was a Paul Pierce era or whatever, now that is a strength of this Net roster, whether it's been the Sean Marks moves or it has been simply how sound and patient the Net organization in totality has been in this rebuild. They've done a fantastic job. Hopefully now they start reaping some of the benefits of that patience and things like that.
How Mikel turns out and how these rookies from last year take a jump next season will give us more hope about them being able to use these picks for good in the next few years.
Yeah, and yeah, put a lot of hope into Sean, and you could build a lot of trust with Sean Marks with these last 6 first-round picks he's made in the last 2 years. Sean Marks has given you no reason to not fully trust him, even tonight, going for what everyone in that world would assume is a slam dunk with Mikel Brown Jr. Yeah. We hope this is he was saying right after he was drafted with his parents, he's home now. Obviously, they do the draft at Barclays Center, the home of the Brooklyn Nets. He was saying, I'm home now. We hope that this is the start of a very fruitful relationship. We hope we look back on this moment and laugh at how naive we were to how just pivotal this was to the Net organization. We hope so. And yeah, also, as a celebration in honor of the first the Unholy podcast show, for the Sean Marks to not only make a good deal last night to draft Mikel Brown.
Hopefully we bring him some good luck.
Yes, and like I said, hopefully this is the beginning of now what can become a great era for the Nets. PK post Knicks championship. But for now, we'll see. Now we'll post a video in a little while, around 8 picks or so for the Nets' second first round pick of the night. For now, 6th pick of the draft, Mikel Brown Jr. from Louisville, the overtime elite prospect. Your next Brooklyn Net, PG1. I'm excited. Phil's excited. We're also even more excited for the Unholy Trinity. We hope to be doing this around every 2 weeks or so. We'll try to get in some when we can, get some in when we can't.
We'll be active on Twitter too, so just
TikTok. We'll try to get as close as we can to the Unholy Trinity name on everything, but seems to be relatively chartered territory already, or not uncharted waters. So we'll kind of have to get creative with each tagline. But make sure to look out for us everywhere. We'll try and keep people in the loop. But this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate Phil. Hopefully the beginning of a lot of episodes and a lot of fun and a lot of success for the Mets, Jets, and Nets. Hashtag the Nets exist. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a fantastic night. And as always, go Nets, go Mets, go Jets. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.